Good morning, everyone. I know we have folks joining us from the waiting room. I can see people participating from there, so just want to give folks a second to get into the Zoom. I'm Stacy Berger. I'm the president and CEO at the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey. I am joined by a number of community developers and housing advocates. We're going to talk this morning about our effort to restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, what that diversion means for community developers and the future of affordable housing, and how we are taking our advocacy to the next level, including launching a public-facing initiative this morning with electronic billboard messages on the New Jersey Turnpike, urging residents to contact their state legislators and Governor Murphy to make this mistake a thing of the past, to fix it this summer. We expect that the legislature will be coming back in various fits and starts over the next few months. As many of us have heard, there were a few things that went sideways in this budget, not just the Housing Trust Fund, but the Housing Trust Fund for sure. And so we want the legislature and the governor to fix it, and to fix it when they come back. It's not something that can wait. So I'm going to turn this press conference over to my colleague Matthew Hirsch, our Vice President of Policy and Advocacy, for context and information about the trust fund diversion, and then we'll hear from our community developers and our fellow travelers in the housing space about what this means, and then we'll take some questions. So thanks everybody for being with us this morning, bright and early on a Monday.
All right, thank you, Stacy, and good morning, everybody. I just have a few visuals to show everybody, but my name is Matthew Hirsch, VP of Policy and Advocacy here at the network, and just thank you for joining us, and thanks to our partners in the community development space for being here today to really showcase how these budgetary decisions are going to affect the state's ability to produce affordable homes, and specifically the work of the CDCs and nonprofit developers that work so closely with communities and really leverage those community relationships and really understand the housing needs and income dynamics of our communities, because they do more than just build affordable homes. They provide a lot of other services in their communities as well. So we really wanted to kind of elevate the work of network members that they're doing in the community, and how this relatively small budget piece from a $59 billion state budget, we're talking about $150 million here, has a profound impact on the state's ability to seamlessly build affordable homes that promotes income diversity in our community and really addresses our severe housing shortage that we have in the state, which we will get right into. But I'm going to just provide a little bit of context, and then we'll move right over to the folks on the ground who are doing the work and building the affordable homes. So this is the launch of our campaign to restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The network every year ensures that monies are deposited appropriately into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This money is raised throughout the year through the state's realty transfer fee. And so this year, that dedicated fund was diverted. We've seen fund raids, in past budgets. So certainly we're not immune to that possibility, but at a time when the state really needs to step up and build affordable homes to address not only the affordability crisis, but a near 300,000 affordable home deficit in New Jersey based on just market need alone. We need to make sure that these state subsidies are in place in order to allow nonprofit builders to acquire properties, to build properties, and to make sure that folks in their communities are safely and stably and affordably housed. So currently, I'll go right through here, but the affordable housing application, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund portal on the Department of Community Affairs website is currently closed because of budget uncertainty. So that really is a red flag for the entire state right now, is that folks who even want to build affordable homes using the subsidy are not able to apply right now. And, we spent a fair amount of time focusing on increasing the mansion tax. Governor Murphy identified raising what's called a mansion tax in the budget as a revenue raiser. It was great that the state adopted that approach through this legislation that you see right here. However, the goal of the mansion tax, and the reason why the network and its allies proposed this revenue raiser in the first place, was to create new revenue to build affordable homes, because affordability is such a huge crisis right now. So unfortunately, this legislation did not address that. but we will get into a little bit about a renewed ask. So here's the law that was signed into, here's the Manchin tax that was signed into law without the deposit into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, even though this revenue should raise close to $300 million a year for the state. So there's new legislation, S 4728, that would specifically dedicate new revenue from the Manchin tax expansion to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And this is, not only does this create new revenue for the general fund in the state, but it also makes sure that those funds are there for affordable home production, which is so critical right now, particularly as towns across the state move into their round 4 obligations under Mount Laurel. So just to launch this campaign very quickly, what the network is doing is what it normally does. We elevate the voice of our members. We showcase the projects, which is what we're going to be doing today. And of course, we have our press conference. We also want to highlight our various ways to engage our members through surveys. We want to understand what our pipeline of projects are so we can match that to what the state needs to invest in. And we also want to really raise any flags on whether projects that are currently in motion are now at risk because of these cuts in funding. So along the turnpike, you'll see coming soon to a billboard near you. You will see some of the visual aspects of this forward-facing campaign that really emphasize letting leadership and letting Governor Murphy know to restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And what that does is that will take you to the housenj.org advocacy center, which allows folks to reach out to their legislators to really understand more about the nature of this campaign, but then specifically to let our legislature know that these funds need to be restored right now. Editor obviously help, and we will get moving on that. And we just really want to, again, as we segue into this, into the work of some of the partners that you'll hear from today, it's so important that regardless of the jurisdiction where you are across the state, that these Affordable Housing Trust Fund projects affect municipalities all over the state, North, Central, and South, regardless of politics. Nonprofit CDC members, again, develop very close relationships with their local mayors and council, with their state representatives, all who understand the earnest and hard work that is necessary to put in to creating affordable homes in your communities. So I am going to stop for now, really just to give an overview, because the work, this is the advocacy, but the work is really about the folks that we're going to hear from. So I want to just pivot to Network Board Chair Ed Bethia, who is also from Gateway Community Action, from Gateway Cap in Bridgeton, way down in South Jersey today. Ed, just thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is, as Matt said, Edward Bethia. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Gateway Community Action Partnership, and I have the privilege and pleasure of serving as the chair on the network board. This is tough times for all of us, all the way around. We've since 2003, we've built 45 first-time homebuyer homes. These are generation building opportunities for these families. These are all families that previously paid rent, and in a lot of cases, they paid more in rent than they paid for their mortgage. So here's an opportunity to create an opportunity where we could do some wealth building for 45 families. It changes their life. It changes their world. It changes the trajectory of their children, living in a home that they own and not paying another landlord. Recently, about 2 months ago, we cut a ribbon on 5 brand new homes. 5 families. And we were excited because years ago, as we were building these houses, then all of a sudden the money went away and we all had to retrench. The building affordable housing, at least for Gateway, went away. We were excited when the Affordable Trust Fund came about. We invested not only in acquiring lots in municipalities that were marginalized and nobody was building, especially not for affordable housing. We invested in buying these lots, but we also invested in personnel, staff, so that they can actually work on this on a full-time basis. So we geared up. We were fortunate that we got 5 built. Then we continued to buy lots from municipalities, putting ourselves in a position where we hope, and we have submitted 2 applications for 13 more homes, a 7-unit application and a 6-unit application that are currently on hold in the portal. Not to mention that we have another 20 that we have lots for that are in various stages of pre-development. This is devastating. We geared up, and I'm talking about Gateway, but I'm speaking for all of our partners here in the network. We all geared up our CDCs to build. We keep hearing from everyone that there's a shortage, because we know it, not just from legislatures across the board, but our residents. They're telling us that the opportunity is to own an affordable house has just eluded them. So here's the opportunity for us to get involved, build these houses, put people in houses, and then we just feel like the rug was pulled from underneath our feet. And it's devastating. But the great thing is it could be fixed. That's the great thing. This could be reversed immediately, and it should be reversed immediately so that we can get back to the business of building these units and changing family lives. That's my part. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And you're absolutely right. This issue can be changed immediately. We talked about some of the legislation upcoming, but we are also anticipating that the legislature should reconvene this summer to address not only this, but other budgetary considerations that were left unfinished, before the budget was signed into law on July 1st. So we do anticipate that there will be some budget activity. So we are focusing our advocacy on that route, as well as the legislation that I mentioned. So, and thank you so much for that. I am going to just, I'd like to pivot to Liz DeCourcy and Scott Millard. So Liz is from Habitat in Morris, and Scott Millard is from Passaic Habitat. Both do an enormous amount of work in your respective covered spaces. And so Liz, I just wanted to turn to you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. Liz DeCourcy, I'm the CEO of Greater Middlesex and Morris Habitat for Humanity. Just like Ed had mentioned, we've had great success using the trust fund, and we geared up and invested in it. We to date have funded 26 homes with the trust fund and received over $4.5 million from the trust fund. That's a huge success for a lot of reasons. They are all 100% affordable projects, which means these municipalities get a 1-for-1 credit, which enables them not to have very large hundreds and hundreds of units to get some affordable obligations met. We have great municipal engagement. All the land has been donated for all of these projects but one. And in that instance, the municipality gave us money from their trust fund to acquire the property. In total, for those projects, it's been $2.3 million in municipal trust funds leveraged with the state's trust fund, and another $900,000 in federal funds. So we have a great capital stack. This gets everybody to the table, and it gets 26 homes built for families. One of the projects that we have successfully got a grant is in partnership with a local high school. They build the house with their industrial art students over 2 years, almost like a modular home. And we have the property donated from the municipality. We raised this money, and they'll be able to do that. But future projects like that are going to be at risk And that's a nationally acclaimed model that we're using and other habitats use in the state to help leverage and offset some of the costs. In these instances, we have families, much like Ed said, that are paying over $2,000 for a rental are now paying $1,200 for their mortgage. And they have enough bedrooms and space. Their children can now go outside and play because safety is often an issue from where they're housed or overhoused in crowded conditions. Some of our residents now are able to walk to work, and they can walk their children to school, and they can feel safe, and obviously improve mental health and improve financial capabilities. These people are the people we know we rely on. They're daycare workers, work in a hospital, they're in education, student aides, in transportation, HVAC workers, which obviously are critical now, and work in not-for-profits. Much like was already mentioned, we have projects that are stuck in limbo. Were submitted in the state's portal, were not approved. That's for 44 more homes. That's in 3 municipalities, and we've already invested over $500,000 in those projects, and we changed our programs geared up to keep this moving. And now we're kind of stuck. And Matt had been talking about the future pipeline. Habitats across the state have been building their pipelines to work using this money, this critical gap funding, to do it. And I'm just here to say that we have made commitments. My affiliate, Scott's affiliate, who you'll hear from, we've all, other nonprofit developers, made commitments to municipalities to work with them to help them offset their affordable housing obligation. Those municipalities have made commitments to the state to fulfill their obligations, right? And now it's time for the state to step up, fulfill their obligation, restore the funding to this fund so we can really move forward and address this major housing crisis in the state of New Jersey and assist all of the New Jerseyans that are desperately looking for a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Liz. Scott, I was going to call on you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt, and thanks, Stacy. Thank you for having me here today. I am the CEO, Scott Millard. I'm the CEO of Passaic County Habitat for Humanity and also a proud board member of the Housing Community Development Network of New Jersey. And just want to kind of pick up on what Ed was sharing and what Liz was sharing and share a couple pictures with everybody. Of some projects that we completed over the past 2 years with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This is a set of 8 homes that we dedicated this past spring, single-family homes in the city of Paterson. All of these families are first-generation homeowners. They are now, instead of paying obscene amounts of rent, they are now building equity and generating wealth for their future families. This is a set of another 5 homes. Over the past 2 years, 13 homes that are now occupied by first-generation homeowners in the city of Paterson. And these are great projects, and they would not have been possible without the state's Affordable Housing Trust Fund. $4.8 million from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund went into subsidizing the development of these homes. But even more importantly are these 19 homes. These are 19 homes for which we are in pre-development. We have invested significant dollars, as Liz shared, they have done at Greater Middlesex and Morris Habitat, for 19 homes which will not be built over the next 2 years if we do not refund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Right? These are applications which have been submitted. They are projects that we have the land, we are in pre-development, we are ready to build these homes, and they will not be built if we do not restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And as Liz shared, right, that is a piece of the work that Greater Morris and Middlesex Habitat and Passaic County Habitat are doing. Statewide, we have 14 Habitat affiliates working from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state, from the eastern part of the state of the western part of the state. And collectively, our 14 affiliates in the New Jersey Habitat Coalition have 144 homes in our pipeline over the next 2 years. Liz shared about 24 she had, or 44 that she has. We have 19, right? But there's 144 homes over the next 2 years that will not be built across the state of New Jersey. if we do not restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And we can make no mistake that this was a choice that was made. The diversions are not for new programs. The diversions are for programs that were previously funded in other parts of the budget. And we need to still fund those programs. They are good programs, but we need to also fund the development of new units of housing, because all of those other funding sources put or act as an accelerant on the demand side of the housing equation. And if all we do is accelerate demand, we are going to make this problem worse. We also need to fund the development of new housing stock, which is what the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is designed to do. It's what Passaic County Habitat for Humanity is doing. It's what Greater Morris and Middlesex Habitat is doing. It's what the 14 habitats across the state are doing, as well as great groups like Gateway. And I think we're going to hear from Bridget Pfeiffer down at Parkside in a second. These are the types of projects we need to restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to keep building. Thank you.
Scott, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And that point can't be made enough, is that the programs that were for affordable housing trust funds were diverted. The programs that they're supporting, or at least proposed in the board and that are in the budget, were already funded in other ways through the general fund. So this was a budget decision to remove these production dollars away from affordable housing production. It doesn't, it doesn't necessarily add up, but it leaves this sector very much in question about its role when it comes to helping municipalities meeting their obligation for affordable housing. So this is an area where our advocacy will continue, not only right now, but also in upcoming legislative cycles as well, because this is a dedicated funding source, and it needs to stay put in order for nonprofit developers to anticipate and to plan around pipeline projects, because financing these projects is not easy. And as I introduce as I introduce Bridget Pfeiffer from Parkside Business and Community in Partnership, you'll also hear about how production is essential, but also that these dollars, are essential for acquisition, making sure that municipalities are able to partner with nonprofit organizations to handle and address vacant properties and repurpose those vacant and abandoned properties for affordable housing. So Bridget, thank you so much for being here, and just kick it off to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and sorry for my tardiness. I actually spent the morning with our assemblyman trying to understand why and what happened in terms of the budget cycle, that this very devastating thing happened where Affordable Housing Trust Fund is not funded. But I just want to add to what I'm sure has already been stressed, how housing is a human right. Housing helps to build community. Housing brings pride to communities that in many instances have been disinvested and have been long forgotten. And I just want to stress a 10-unit project that we completed last year, June. The homes sold for $129,000. The properties were appraised at $300,000. And so when we talk about racial wealth building, when we talk about closing the racial wealth gap, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund gave an opportunity. It was a tool for us to begin to do that type of work, right? And so we're currently working on another 10 units of homes. While the sales prices have increased, we're still focused on that same family of 60 to 80% of the area median income, again, to transform the lives of people who in some instances believe they might not ever be able to achieve this very, American right, which is to own their own home. We're in a situation where without the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the pipeline of projects and properties, and even with our acquisition, it will be stalled completely, which means, not only are we not able to provide housing for families who sorely need it, but it changes the trajectory of the community as well. And so I just, as I said before, I'm urging our state assemblyman, our state senator, and any that will listen to please find a strategy, find a way to address this situation that is completely just I'm flabbergasted by it. So opportunity, as you can see, I'm sitting in my car, so I'm going to turn it back over to you now, Matt.
Bridget, thank you for taking the time out to even participate here and talk about the impact on the community. As folks can see, we do not spend our time in the office. We're out on the field. We are in the community, and we are always actively working to make sure that affordable homes are created. And so in Camden, for example, that's and Patterson and so many municipalities where the work is about affordable home production, but also about stabilizing neighborhoods and creating other services centered around housing that can help create kind of an community development ecosystem, whether it's job training centers, daycare, other services. So it's not always just housing. A lot of the times these projects are anchored around housing necessarily. And it just goes to show that these minor investments that Bridget and others are appealing to their legislators to restore are so impactful in our communities. So again, thank you, Bridget, for taking time out. I did want to now we'll just go over to Reverend Derek Green. Reverend Green, thank you so much for being with us. Reverend Green is the founder of Green Consultants and a powerful voice in the state when it comes to affordable homes. So Reverend Green, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you all for having me. I'm also here on behalf of the Interfaith Action Movement, an organization I founded a few years ago. Our mission is to address the spiritual, social, and economic needs of marginalized communities throughout the state. And economic needs, as we're talking, and also social as well. We're talking about today when it comes to housing, affordable housing development. Let me just say that I believe that this effort, folks are beginning to listen because I was at Reverend Slaughter's birthday celebration on Friday evening, and Senator Timberlake came up to me and said, Reverend Green, we really need to get folks engaged in this effort of restoring the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I said, I'm on it. I'm ready. We are ready to do it. And so I believe this effort, people are beginning to listen, and they do need to restore it now. Let me just say that when the call was made regarding the almost 300,000 affordable housing unit deficit that we have in New Jersey, a lot of faith organizations, particularly churches, stepped up to the plate because they have land. They have land, they have buildings, some of which are not being used. They formed CDCs. They had CDCs, and they began to develop those projects, all affordable housing, some mixed use. And the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is essential, critical to these development projects. This morning at 8 o'clock, I was on a call with the Calvary Community Development Corporation in Patterson. They're doing a project on East 19th Street. We were on a call with the bank who wants to fund the gap financing. And as you all know, these projects have financial structures and there are gaps in the financing. And we have a bank using their CRA credits that want to fund the gap. It's a big deal. But when you have uncertainty about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, it really creates a problematic situation. So these churches who have stepped up to the plate all around the state, who have CDCs, who've done the work that they need to do, who have gotten local approval, which, as you know, can be can be challenging. But they really need to know that there's going to be a fund that's available for them. They've stepped up to the plate, and they should not have to worry about this moving forward. I'm talking about projects all up and down from Camden, all the way up to Patterson. So we stand with this group. I am absolutely thrilled and honored to be on this call today. I've been inspired to hear about the projects of home ownership, and we stand ready and willing. The faith community stands ready and willing, and we are going to have signatures, over 200 plus, that are going to ask our legislature to restore. And I believe there's an appetite to do it. I believe that there is a willingness to do it as well. We just need to keep the pressure on, and have them understand that this is extremely important to the stabilization of our communities. Thank you very much.
Reverend Green, thank you so much. I think you could have said it all. So we really appreciate that. And you make and just to I want to echo your point. I want to uplift your point about the approval process at the local level. So many of your organizations, particularly those represented here today, know how to navigate the local approval process landscape, know where the dynamics are, know who folks need to hear from, and understand how to engage local governments in ways that others just don't. I think what we heard a lot particularly through this entire process, when our municipal housing obligations were being improved through legislation last year, was the concern about availability of space, for example, in some towns. The whole point of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is to provide necessary resources for these particularly smaller developers, 5 to 25 units, single family property acquisitions, 1 to 2 conversions, 1 to 3 conversions. We see so much innovation at the local level when it comes to creating new, safe, quality, affordable homes that seamlessly integrate economic and housing diversity in our communities. And that's really the goal here. That's really the thrust of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So thank you, Reverend Green, for making that point. So when we talk about our obligations, we have no one is better equipped to talk about those obligations than Adam Gordon, Executive Director at Fair Share Housing Center. So Adam, I'm just going to kick it off to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Stacy, and everyone. People have already covered a lot of the key points. I'll focus a little bit more specifically on town's obligations, where this fits in. Poll after poll shows that New Jerseyans see the affordability crisis, particularly the housing crisis, as the most important issue in politics today. And you just see it all over our state, where places where there used to be a degree of affordability, where, if you were a kid growing up there and wanted to stay there, if you wanted to move somewhere closer to their job, there were those opportunities, and there aren't those opportunities anymore. And we need a wide range of solutions in order to address that crisis. And the trust fund is a particularly unique and critical part of it. What is unique about this funding? Well, there's really 3 things, and we've heard all that in the speakers so far. So I'll just sort of bring together some of these points. The first is that there's shovel-ready projects, right? I mean, as we've heard from speaker after speaker, because we've had the legislature and the governor committing this funding for years up to this point, people are ready to go. And that's really critical and very different from a lot of different things that are being proposed for the first time. The second is it's really community-focused solutions that look at where you can have things that fit into particular spaces in the community, that are those kinds of infield projects, whether it's in Bridgeton or Randolph or Camden and everywhere throughout the state, that really address particular neighborhood and community needs in a particular way. And the third is really that it offers just a wide range of different housing opportunities. A lot of the funding that comes from the federal government is just focused on rental, just focused on bigger development. Really, there's unique opportunities for home ownership, for supportive housing, for other kinds of innovative housing types that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is a key funding piece for. In terms of town's plans, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund came out of the original Fair Housing Act, and it was a critical part of the legislature's response to implementing Mount Laurel. And, we are seeing a record number of towns participate under that new law, A4S50, that was just referenced. And last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, 423 towns submitted plans, which is a record, 75 more than we had at this time 10 years ago. And we're seeing, as we're starting to go through a lot of those plans, a lot of projects that are going to use this funding. It's a lot of the projects that, as Liz was saying, for example, before, that the towns were already working on and already in the pipeline. And on top of that, there's a lot of new proposals that we're seeing because towns were relying on being able to use this funding. And so it's particularly important at this time. And last but not least, just wanted to echo the call because we increased the realty transfer fee for the first time in a long time. We really need to focus on how that increased funding can actually lead to an increase on funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, not the decrease that we're seeing. And so we are looking forward to pushing for the legislature to come back and address this and make sure that we not only restore the cuts, but also increase the funding from taking that increase in the really expensive houses that we didn't used to see in New Jersey, but now are seeing all the time, and dedicate that to solving our community's affordability crisis. Thank you.
That's an excellent point, Adam. The housing market, I think, is out of control right now, and we're seeing housing prices really skyrocket to levels that we have never seen before. You'd be hard pressed to find a new construction a single family home in New Jersey for under $500,000 right now, no matter where you are in the state. So when we see these elevated housing prices as a result of this inflated housing market and all kinds of other pressures on the industry right now, we really need to make sure that we are able to capitalize off that in any way that we can in order to stabilize the market and create the affordable homes that we need. I did just want to reference, so we work closely with there's a lot of federal advocacy going on right now because the state and federal advocacy are often go hand in hand. And I did just want to point to the work of our national affiliate, the National Low Income Housing Coalition, and they estimate that New Jersey is about 205,000 affordable homes short, rental affordable homes for extremely low income renters. So if you look at our 10-year obligation right now, when it comes to the round four, and we're talking about 88,000 affordable homes, the actual market need is much, much greater than that. And that's not a point in time. That is going to increase. And that is a point in time. That need, unless we address it today, will continue to increase. So to the point that that we have a major supply issue as well, we really do need to really emphasize that and understand that that demand, that upward pressure on the market is not going to go away unless we make sure that we can build the affordable homes that we need in New Jersey. So I did just want to put in the chat, we have our action center around this campaign is available at www.housenj.org, where you will see not only our sign-on letters and other talking points and resources, but also where we will continue to populate those projects that have benefited from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that are so important in the communities. And I just wanted to pause and just see if there were any questions in the group, or if there's anything more to add. And Mina, are we seeing any?
Well, I think Stacy had a few remarks.
Sorry,
I just wanted to
Stacey.
say one thing. If there are reporters who have questions and you want to put them in the Q&A or in the chat, we can take them there. Or if you want to if you want to raise your hand, I think, Nina, you can take folks off mute to ask questions, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that, we are doing a little more public facing PR around this campaign than we probably ever have. It's going to be a summer of unrelenting Affordable Housing Trust Fund advocacy. So we are taking out electronic billboard messages along the New Jersey Turnpike. We are doing a GoFundMe around that billboard purchase. So if there is additional resources that we are able to leverage to expand the public messaging, we will do that. We've considered, going as far as banner planes and additional Garden State Parkway and other well-traveled roads, Atlantic City Expressway, billboard messages. We're going to drive calls, emails, and general outreach and information to our elected officials in the state legislature and and Governor Murphy. We do not have a good reason for why this was done. People keep asking me why the governor took the money away. I do not know, but I would like him to put it back. And we know that he can, and we know the legislature can. We've we've gotten some feedback that it's a difficult time to do things in the legislative process, especially before an assembly election where the legislature might not come back. But we know that they can come back, and they will come back, and they have made mistakes in this budget, and they need to fix them. And we need them to do this now without delay. So, we know that if there's a will, there is most certainly a way to make it right. The question in the chat was about whether the missing number of units is 200 or 300. It's between 200 and 300,000. It depends on who's counting and what the parameters are. But it is a minimum of 205,000 homes that are missing in our marketplace for extremely low income families. That's really below, at or below the lower income margin. When you look at whether it's at or above area median income, it grows. So we know that there are not enough homes for people who need them. We all routinely get calls, and we're going to ask folks to start calling their legislators in the governor's office to ask when people call us looking for a safe, affordable place to rent or purchase, because we all get those calls. We are going to give folks talking points to have individuals who are looking for those homes not just call us, and we will help them to the best of our ability, but to call the people who can make those homes actually get built, and give not just the developers on this Zoom, but everybody who's in the attendee list and everybody who's in the sector just a fighting chance to build the homes that working families, seniors, people with disabilities, and veterans need and deserve. We have the tools. We know how to do this. It is not even that expensive if you do it as a nonprofit. But if we're not going to do this with the nonprofit community, the legislature has some explaining to do, because we are the folks who have been on the front lines in neighborhoods and in communities that none of the for-profit developers have wanted to work in for the last decade or even 20 years. And this money is the difference between our members being able to do very difficult and very challenging work in places where the capital stack is not always readily available, where funders and investors are not always interested in investing for the right reasons. We need and deserve the resources to do that work, and we are not going to rest until we get them. Thanks, Matt. I just wanted to be sure that everybody knows that we are turning the volume up. This is, a little bit different advocacy than we have done before. And we are not going to just sit back and hope that our legislators and the governor do the right thing. We are going to make sure that they do. And there will be, like we've heard from, for decades, if there isn't justice, there isn't going to be peace. So we need to make sure that there is justice for the housing developers who have been working to make these homes available and affordable to low and moderate income families across the state. This diversion is just inexplicable and intolerable, and we won't rest until it's restored.
There is one question. In a lot of the post-budget press releases from various legislators, they've touted how the budget promoted affordability. What would you say to those legislators who claim that this budget makes New Jersey more affordable? This can go to anybody.
Well, we can, if anybody on the panel has wants to address that, please feel free. I will just say though that, at a time when we are obviously talking about affordability, and affordability is front and center, we have to start when it comes to just one's ability to live in New Jersey affordably. You can't have an affordable New Jersey if you do not have affordable housing. The state needs to make that investment. These monies that were diverted were already invested. If that was already the state's investment into affordable housing. And we always advocate for more, because we know, based on what you've heard from today, based on what the DCA commissioner says during their budget testimony, that these pipeline projects far surpass what the available subsidy can achieve. So just for a little example, roughly $100 million would subsidize 1,000 homes, 800 homes, affordable homes. Those are the numbers that we're looking at, and that's the type of investment that is made. So $100 million sounds like a lot of money. But when we look at the actual effect, it obviously is a lot of money to you and me, but the impact is going to be more modest. So that's why we have to make sure that we have these increased funding. And until the legislature really understands that, we are never going to be able to get over that hump, that critical mass that we need to start reversing that trend and making a positive impact on the housing market. Scott, thank you.
Sure. Just briefly to add on to that, the budget diversions from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund were, as I said earlier, were existing programs, and one of the largest diversions was to the first-time home buyer down payment assistance program, which is a good program. However, when we provide money for down payment assistance, we are making homes more affordable for those few who get the down payment assistance. But what we are also doing is giving them the funds to bid up housing prices because they are bidding up with somebody else's money. And they can potentially afford to pay more for a market rate home. However, when we are only fueling the demand side of the equation, we help those few and we risk making the market more unaffordable for everybody else. However, if we support generation of the supply side of the equation and build more affordable housing and put more housing units on the market, that will help the affordability for the entire market because it brings down housing prices, because it increases the supply of housing. So you don't have fewer people fighting over a smaller number of units of housing. So you've helped a few people, but if we can increase the supply side of the equation, we can help more people.
I was just going to add, and I like that, Scott, thank you. But I was just going to add, I think we're all in favor of making New Jersey more affordable, right? Who isn't, right? So that's a fact. But we need to start looking at where is it not affordable. I can tell you in my community where it's not affordable is trying to be a renter. It's not affordable if you're trying to be a renter here in my community, and I'm sure that's the case in the entire state. So anytime you pay more for rental unit than you would for a mortgage, that's upside down. I mean, that's just upside down, and there's gross unfairness in that. So here's an opportunity where we're building affordable homes to put people in, so now they have more in their checkbook to buy and pay for other things like eggs and milk, which is also more affordable, which is also very costly. So yeah, we're all in favor of making New Jersey more affordable, but it starts with trying to make sure that we're tackling issues that are there and not making it more difficult. This was a trust fund that was available for us to build the supply that's desperately needed. And now at the 11th hour, you just snatch the rug from underneath our feet. Again, where we made these investments across the board so we can build more units so that we can satisfy and make more families live in New Jersey more affordably.
And then one last thing, this is Rep. Green. Affordability has many components. I'll just say this, that we are playing catch up when it comes to affordable housing in New Jersey. We're playing catch up. And really, this administration has really been front and center in its commitment to affordable housing. I haven't seen it in New Jersey in 30 years, to be frank, in 30 years. Doing this in this budget really puts us behind when we're playing catch up already. We don't need to play catch up anymore. We need to keep the momentum going because we're finally turning the page. 300,000 affordable housing unit deficit is that's a lot. It didn't just start yesterday. So we're playing catch up. Let's keep the momentum going so that we can provide the affordable housing that we need in this state.
Just one follow-up, Nina. Actually, two separate but related thoughts. The polling that we've done that other folks have referenced, affordability is the number one thing that people are concerned about. And more than 60% of the people that are surveyed in New Jersey want the state government to use the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to build more homes, because they understand that we do not get to an affordable rental or home ownership market unless there are more homes that are being built. So as we are heading into an election season where, for the last election season and the future election season, everybody is talking about affordability, it defies logic and explanation that the legislature and the governor would take funding that is directly connected to and supportive of creating more affordable homes. It does not make any sense. Clearly, somebody did not do their due diligence and make sure the math matched when they looked at this budget item. We don't know why they did this, but we know they are going to hear from us. I know some folks are asking if now is the time to call and email. The answer is yes to that. Call, email, write. We have all the tools on the website. That's why we're driving traffic to that website through the billboard campaign and through paid social media and earned media advertising. We want our legislators and the governor to understand the severity of the mistake that they have made and the disproportionate impact this is going to have on New Jersey's lowest income consumers who are feeling the effects of the affordability crisis the most. We have solutions to this. This is a problem that can be solved. Unlike a lot of things in our political and policy world, there are complicated solutions to a lot of those problems. This is not one of those. This has an easy fix. It just takes the resources that have already been dedicated once through the creation of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and potentially a second time through the dedication of the realty transfer fee that is going to be raised through the mansion tax. The legislature and the governor have the tools to fix this problem, and they must do that without delay. So, Nina, are there any other media questions?
Yes, just one. Can you speak more about the 10-year plan and fourth round responsibilities? So just
Adam, we may want to, since we have the expert here.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So New Jersey, under the New Jersey Fair Housing Act and Mount Laurel Doctrine, every 10 years, towns have to come up with a plan for how they're going to address their fair share of affordable housing needs. And we happen to be right at the period at which towns are creating plans. So it's the start of the fourth round of these obligations, and towns had to submit their plans by June 30th, which is what I referenced before. There was a record number of towns under the new law that we all worked together to get passed last year, A4S50, that made this process easier and clearer, and a record number of towns are participating. And those plans include a range of different ways to create affordable housing, and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and projects created by it are a significant way that a lot of towns are using to meet these obligations. And so there's a review process for these plans that goes over the next 6 to 9 months, and then towns have their final plans for the next decade. So this is a really particularly critical time period that only comes around once every 10 years for towns to put in place these plans, and also really to move forward, especially these shovel-ready projects.
Matt, if I can just say one other thing, the reason we are in this situation is because Chris Christie took the first round of Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars for nearly a decade. And so we had lost almost $1 billion that cost us a lot of units being built and a lot of homes not created and a lot of generational wealth that went by the wayside. First rule of being in a hole, stop digging. So, to Adam's point, we have this opportunity with these communities. We need to make sure that that those funds are there.
Nina, I'm not sure if we're seeing any.
That's it.
Well, Stacey, I don't know if you want to wrap up. I just wanted to thank everybody for being with us today. Our advocacy continues, so we won't drag out this goodbye. This is really going to be the summer of restoring the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The work doesn't stop. Our network members do not go on vacation, or they do sometimes, but their work continues all throughout the year. And I think what we're hearing today is that the state really teed up the community development sector in a really positive way to not only address affordable housing, but to make sure that the proper investments were there, and that CDCs and nonprofit developers had the tools necessary in order to create the affordable homes that really promote housing and economic diversity in our communities. The missing piece, and so all that was nicely teed up, and then all of a sudden the budget came and just removed the funding mechanism, so an incredibly important piece of the funding mechanism from under our feet. Why? As Stacy said, we don't know, but we need to respond, and we need to respond loudly, and we really need to showcase that this is the work that really promotes economic, that promotes affordability statewide, if we are going to talk about affordable New Jersey. So thank you. More to come, and have a wonderful day, everybody.